Global besties, welcome to 1,000 Miles Pod. You belong here. That feels so good, guys. Oh my gosh, welcome back to 1,000 Miles Pod. This is episode 2. We are stoked to be back with you guys. Today we are recording from 5,171 miles apart, which is crazy.
It's both crazy and heartbreaking.
Truly. Yeah. Although Nikki and I are about 10 centimeters away from each other.
Yeah.
So let's just start off. Let's start off with the question of where in the world are we? You guys can go ahead and start, and we can tell the sad tale of how I'm not with you anymore.
Ty and I are in Guernsey. I never left.
Flights were changed. The house is still available. We said, hey, just stay a bit longer.
And I said, cool, I'll be here for 2 weeks.
For our listeners, we recorded episode 1 all together in Guernsey, and it was pure magic. And then Nikki and Patrick and I were supposed to leave Guernsey, and Nikki decided to change her flight and stay. And sadly, Patrick and I had to come back to the U.S. for a wedding, so I've been in mourning for the last week as we've all been apart.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's not, I wasn't just like ditching Maddie and Patrick. I wasn't like, screw you guys, I'm not going to London. My travel plans literally just got changed like 48 hours before our flight. And I was like, what do I do? And here I am.
The draw of Guernsey was just too much. You just wanted to stay longer.
I just had to stay. I do really like
I totally get it. I totally get it. I'm recording from Colorado Springs, Colorado. That's where we're at right now. We head back to Hawaii soon, but in Colorado for the next few days. So we are 5,000 miles apart today, friends.
That is so crazy. So crazy.
Yeah. We left you guys with an epic teaser on episode 1 of talking about our relationships today, giving you guys a little bit more insight. And the biggest thing we're excited about is hearing about Tyler's surprise wedding. We have been saving this for the pod. Nikki and I don't even know the full story of this. Tyler just mentioned when we were all together last week that she and her husband Ben had a surprise wedding. And we were like, wait, what do you mean surprise wedding?
It's literally crazy because like I've seen the photos from the wedding and I'm like you had a dress and you had things. Like, if that was the same day, what a surprise.
What
an absolute
full
surprise.
Disclosure, Ben and I both knew it was happening. So we could prepare. But I can get deeper into it if you like.
We would love that. Let's just kick it off. Tell us about your relationship with Benny Ben, Lee Benjamin. We love to see it, but tell us about it. How did the surprise wedding come about?
So Ben and I met 10 years ago. I was just a mere fetus. He would tell you that we met in a nightclub. Although not entirely wrong, we met through mutual friends and we had seen each other in passing and had some short conversations beforehand. So one of my best friends, Hannah, worked with Ben. And yeah, we met through mutual friends, basically. We were kind of both out of relationships and we weren't looking for anything serious, as it happens, and then kind of bump into the love of my life. So there we are. So
just casual bump.
I know. Honestly, it's when you're not looking, someone will kind of just rock your world. They're like, honest to God, Ben knows this. I wish I met him slightly later in my life so I could have really enjoyed my single years and learnt a lot about myself by myself. However, I wouldn't change a thing because he is my person and I feel like things happen for a reason, and when you know, you know. So we were together for a few years. We got engaged. That wasn't the whole surprise wedding was not on the cards until lockdown happened. Yeah,
it's clicking.
Mm-hmm. So we were engaged for like 2.5 years, and no, probably 2 years, and we were looking at actually having a traditional wedding. For a bit of backstory, I used to film weddings, and so I feel like I've been to a lot of weddings, and as beautiful as they are, I felt like I had maxed out on the traditional wedding situation.
Totally fair. I've shot like 5 weddings, and I'm like, I get it.
Yeah, and I kind of could see how much weddings cost. In the UK, weddings average at £20,000. For one day, that is a lot of money.
A lot of money. Yeah. You know how many plane tickets we could buy for that?
Exactly my thoughts. obviously to each their own, and completely respect that people want to withhold family traditions and have, you know, the big white wedding. For us, it just kind of wasn't what we had envisioned. So one spring day in lockdown, we said,
Paint the picture.
yeah, we were just like,
Yeah.
fuck it, should we just surprise everyone and get married? And the ball kind of rolled from there. So I think from that initial conversation, it was about 8 weeks and we got married.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, so obviously Ben and myself knew. Ben's parents knew because we actually hosted it in their garden, in their back garden. Backyard, I think you guys would say, for the American listeners. And my mum knew because I needed somebody to coordinate my side of the family. And other than that, that was it. We were extremely fortunate because I did have sort of a hand in the wedding industry. I had friends who were vendors. So the florist I used to work with and the videographer and the photographer, they both did it for free.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I know.
That's amazing.
We will forever be grateful. The person who made our cake also did it for free. She was a family friend. So I guess like a fair few people did know, given the vendors situation.
Yeah, but like, how did you coordinate the surprise with all the people who didn't know?
Okay, so
Yeah, did you just like have them show up and be like, well, bam, marriage?
pretty much. So, so because we had just been in lockdown, we had missed Mother's Day and some birthdays and things like that. So we came up with this whole lie that we were going to go out for lunch just to celebrate all the, like, everything that we missed. And my mum was organising my side of the family, which consisted of my grandparents, my brother and my dad. And then Ben's parents were kind of organising his two brothers, their wives and the nieces and nephews. So I think in total there was like, I want to say there was 11 of us. So it was very intimate, very small.
Okay.
And I mean, to cut a very long story short, what happened is everybody turned up to the garden and saw it set up ready for a wedding. So there was an aisle, there was an arch at the end of it. And they had no idea. I think the best surprise though was my dad. I went to
Your
their
dad
house.
didn't know?
My dad didn't know.
I was like waiting. I was like, she
Oh
said her
my
dad.
gosh.
She didn't mention her dad, so there's no way her dad knew.
Yeah. Poor soul, because he was like, I'm going to lose some weight before the wedding. I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. And we were like, oh, we haven't given you much of an opportunity. But no, I went to his house, completely dressed, ready to go. And my mum was like, oh, we have a late birthday present for you. Come out into the backyard. And he came out and I was stood there in my wedding dress, which I just bought online. It was from a retailer called Next. But, you know, I loved it. I felt good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I had a bouquet of flowers in my hands. I had a videographer and a photographer behind me. He walks out and he's like, oh, you look amazing. Give us a spin. So I'm like, I was expecting tears. I don't know what's going on here. So I kind of like gave a spin and then I handed him his buttonhole and he was like, what's this for? And I was like, hello?
I'm in a white dress wearing a bouquet with paparazzi. What do you think?
Oh my
Yeah. I was like, I'm getting married. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, no, today. And he just broke down.
Oh.
When I spoke to him after.
Oh my gosh.
When I spoke to him after, he was just like, oh, I thought you were just showing me your dress.
Oh,
Which I thought-
this is the most epic first look story.
Yeah.
It's like a first look just thrust upon your father. He had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, in the UK, we don't really do first looks. That's not really a thing for weddings. But essentially, yeah, that's exactly what it was. He just thought I was showing him the dress. I thought, like, how extra do you think I am?
He's like, oh, we're playing dress up.
Yeah.
Model for me.
So it was at that point that I kind of explained to him. And so my mum and my brother then left to go to my in-laws' garden where they met everybody else and they waited for us. And I did that on purpose because so often on a wedding day, if any of you listeners are getting married, please take this from me. So often on a wedding day, a bride or whoever is getting married will see one of their family members and it is so quick out of the door to get to the ceremony. it's so rushed and you really don't have the time to just soak it in and enjoy that moment. I always used to recommend people to give enough time to really soak that in. So for me, I was like, it's really important that I have at least sort of like 45 minutes here that I can just spend with my dad and we can, you know, just get excited for it. And we cried together and we like just laughed together. Bless him, he didn't have to write a speech or anything because that would have been a bit harsh to drop that on him last minute. But yeah, then we made it over to my in-laws' house and he walked me down the aisle.
Wow.
That is the most unbelievable story. It's so funny thinking back because people went a little crazy during COVID. We all had our own version of crazy. And I can picture your dad just being like, man, Tyler just must be going through it today. Like in lockdown, she just needed to put her wedding dress on. And then you'd be like, no, I'm actually getting married.
Front yard.
But I feel like Ben had the best seat in the house because he got to watch everyone else arrive. So he got to see like his brothers arrive at the garden and see immediately that it was a wedding. There was a old school bike set up and it had buttonholes and bunting on it. So everybody had a little buttonhole each. But thankfully, because my friend filmed it, I was able to watch their reactions back as well, which was so nice.
Oh, I love it. It's so cute.
Yeah, because it was so small and there was only sort of like the 11 or 12 of us, we saved so much money. And obviously we had very generous friends who were able to film it and everything. And yeah, the money that we saved on a wedding, we went traveling for 6 months.
Hell yeah.
Which is
what did I say? Plane tickets.
Yeah, that's the most unbelievable thing. We'll definitely get into that maybe in our next episode, but that is so crazy. So going back to the guest reactions, like what was the craziest reaction you got? Because if I walked into a surprise wedding of one of my best friends or family members, I would lose it in the best way ever. I'd like probably run around the yard like screaming. I don't even know what I would do.
Yeah, same. Like what?
So Ben's brothers, because his mum was trying to orchestrate something, they were like, something weird is happening and I don't know what it is. So when they arrived, they were like, oh my God, you idiot. Like, this is what you've been so sneaky about. But bless him, my granddad, he walked in and he was wearing these little cargo shorts and a button-up shirt. And he was like, the first thing he said was, I'm wearing shorts. And that's all he was worried about. And I was like, Granddad, like, I don't care what you're wearing.
That's so funny.
But yeah, everybody was just like really shocked. I mean, our poor friends, we didn't tell them. And they also weren't invited. It was just our immediate families. So we kind of just sent them a photo like, surprise,
we're married.
Yeah. They were like, what about the hen do? What about the stag do? Which is like a bachelorette. But yeah. But no, they were all so happy for us. And
did you guys ever do a bachelor or bachelorette?
No,
never did it?
Never.
Wow.
I guess that's the one regret.
Yeah. You guys do go hard over here for those.
Yeah.
Especially in Guernsey, a lot of people will have a local hen do and then an away one as well.
Oh.
I don't know what it's like in the US, but because it's such a small island, everybody's like, this is a great excuse to go to Ibiza or Mallorca or something. So it can all add up and yeah, we wanted to save as much as we could so we can go on a bowler honeymoon.
Incredible. So you guys have been married for 5 years. You just celebrated your 5-year wedding anniversary.
We have.
I know that because I killed a fly in your house last week with a card that you had given Ben, I think, for your anniversary.
Yes.
So sorry
to
destroy that precious artifact, but that's exciting. So just tell us a little bit about, your relationship with Ben. Like, what drew you to him? What do you love about him?
It's funny. I was actually telling Nikki this the other day. I feel like I manifested Ben before I even knew what manifesting meant. I kind of was like, I really want somebody who is ambitious and someone who has a really good relationship with his family, kind of like the same morals as me. And like I said, it was my friend Hannah who introduced us. I think she knew that we would get along really well. And it was just a really nice, organic way to meet someone. I think nowadays it's amazing that we have all these connections with dating apps and things like that. But in such a small community like Guernsey, I think it's easy to kind of either know someone who they've dated or, like maybe you're related.
Oh, no.
Thankfully, we're not, just to clear the air. Yeah, I met Ben in August of 2015, and in the September, I told my mum that I was going to marry him. I just knew. And
I love it.
I love that stuff. It's just like, it feels so good. Like, that's so, gotta be such a really grounding feeling to just be like, yeah, I just know. Like, that's it.
Yeah, it was one, like I said earlier, I was like, oh, I kind of wish I'd met him later in life, but when I did meet him, I was just like, I know that this is my person. And actually being together has meant that we could experience all these things together, and we've made all of these incredible memories together, which I'm sure we'll touch on in future episodes and things. But yeah, it's nice having someone by your side who you know will always kind of be there for you.
Yeah, that's so special. That is crazy. I've heard a lot of crazy wedding stories, and especially during COVID, during lockdown, but this is the craziest one because I know you're so close to your dad. It is insane that he didn't know you were getting married until that day. I
Yeah,
love that so
yeah.
much.
He's like a big like rugby player. He used to box and he used to be a bouncer as well. So like just seeing him break down with happy tears was just, I don't know, it was so nice. It was a memory that I'm always going to remember. But I feel like that's enough about me. And speaking of milestones, Maddie, yourself and Patrick have just celebrated 10 years of marriage.
We were children when we got married.
Likewise.
Maddie's ability to
Yeah.
joke about being a child bride is
I know.
some of the funniest moments of my life.
I do. I joke that I was a child bride, which I shouldn't joke about because that's an actual like issue in the world. But regardless, I also feel like I was a fetus when we got married. Patrick and I met when we were 20. We were barely out of our teens, which is insane to even just fathom. But we met in college. We met our junior year of college or university for our non-American listeners. And it was so interesting. I never wanted to get married young. I honestly didn't even know, I didn't feel like passionate about getting married. I figured I would. I believe in marriage. I think marriage is fantastic. So I kind of figured I would, but I honestly used to make fun of people. This is so humbling, okay? I used to make fun of I used to make fun of people who got married young, especially in like American college culture. There's like ring by spring and all of this stuff. And I was like, that's
MRS
the dumbest thing I've
degrees.
ever heard. Like, I'm moving to Australia after I graduate. Like, I don't want anything to do with any type of commitment. Like, I'm free, can't hold me down. So it's crazy that this happened the way that it did. But I literally walked in, Patrick and I, so we both were part of an organization at our university called Honduras Project, which is a service organization where you raise money for a village in Honduras and you help them like put a well in the community. And it's a really cool experience. You meet in September, you apply for it, you get on this team, you work all fall semester in the community. Like you rake leaves, you do literally anything. Like the things we did were crazy to raise money. And then over spring break in the spring, you go to the village in Honduras. The village we were in is called Los Cedros. And you get to do like the well dedication and quote unquote help. Like we will never work as hard as the Hondurans who are in the village. It was kind of like a joke to be like, we're coming to help you put it in. But it's like, we're coming to just support you and like celebrate putting this in. So that's the organization we met through, which we loved, but we met at the first team meeting for that, September 19th, 2012. It was a
Wow, the
Wednesday.
fact that you remember the day is like
I do. I
crazy.
remember the date. It was the day that changed my entire life. It literally changed the entire course of my life. And I remember walking in. Again, I was not on the prowl. I wasn't not on the prowl. Like I was like, okay. Like if I see an attractive man, I'm curious. But I wasn't like on the prowl, like I must get married. And it was the craziest thing. I walked into this room and I saw him sitting there and it was like, there you are.
Oh, kill me.
I will not kill you.
Not today.
But it was, yeah, it just was like, there you are. Like, here you, like, this is it. And it was so
And you guys
crazy.
hadn't even exchanged words. You just looked at him.
So I saw him across the room. I remembered he was wearing a Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals baseball sweatshirt. This like zip up that he still has. And what's funny is that our very first exchange that we had, like we went around in the group and, you know, it was like, this is my name, this is where I'm from, whatever. This is why I applied for Honduras Project, just like intro stuff. So I heard him speak, but we hadn't like interacted with each other, but just like observing him in that like hour and a half meeting. And then our whole team went to a team dinner afterwards in our cafeteria, and we were sitting at round tables. So we were at the same round table, but we weren't sitting next to each other. And I just remember observing him during that and being like, I really hope that you don't have a girlfriend. I didn't even know his last name. I was like, I hope you don't have a girlfriend because we're probably going to get married and that's going to be awkward for her.
The fact, like, having known you two, the fact that you met in such a beautiful way, like the fact that you're both going to be volunteering and such a like selfless thing to do makes complete sense.
Well, that's really sweet. I don't want to feel like, I don't want to just portray like we're so selfless. I mean, I was excited to travel. That's part of why I joined it. So
ulterior motive.
But yeah. So I just remember observing him during that. I mean, maybe exchange a couple words. And I just remember being like, this man is the first time, like you hear about the idea of gentleness. Like, I don't know, like what even is that? Is that like seeing a puppy and being like, oh, sweet puppy? But I remember seeing him and being like, that is what gentleness is. Like that, he embodies gentleness. Like I've literally never seen a human with this trait before like this. And I remember being so intrigued. And I called my dad that night and said, I think I met my husband. And I was crazy. Okay, this is only cute because it worked out. If it wasn't, I would be a certified psychopath. So that is unhealthy behavior to be like, I met my husband. But the reason I called my dad is because my dad met my mom on a blind date. And the night that they met, he told his roommate that he met his wife.
So I knew full chills.
Yeah, and they've been married for 40 years. So I knew that there was like that really did happen. And I was like, there's one person in this planet who will understand this, and it's my dad. And I called him and I was like, I think I met the guy I want to marry. And I just remember he took it in stride and he was like, okay, like let's talk again in a few weeks. And that night I was like furiously at our university, there was something called the intranet. And it was like just on the campus server. It was basically like Facebook just on campus server, where you could see like everyone's ID photo and like their hometown. So I remember, and I had only been on campus for a couple weeks because I had transferred in. And so I went to my like best friend's, actually Megan, who was on our Croatia cruise. I went next door to her room and I was like, can you help me look someone up on Intra? And they were like, is it a boy? And I was like, yeah, it is. So I only knew that his name is Patrick. I didn't know where he's from. I mean, I guess he had said where he was from in our meeting, but I don't know if I remembered. So you looked him up.
You were like husband, not thinking about where he's from.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wow, I'm going to be married to someone named Patrick. This is cool.
So a light bit of stalking took place then.
Yeah, a light bit of stalking. And it was such an interesting dynamic because we were together. So this Honduras project, it is a really big commitment. You have like 2-hour team meetings every Wednesday, and then you work together all day on Saturdays every Saturday. And then there's like subcommittees within it for like taking care of different aspects of just everything that it entails. And so you were kind of on a subcommittee as well. So 3 times a week, you were spending significant amount of time with this group of 20 students. So right off the bat, we were inseparable, not even just because it was Patrick and I, but this group, like you're just with it all the time. It's basically like your team. And I wasn't playing volleyball that year in college because of some like transfer rules. So that was kind of my team. And Patrick and I both dove into it. And so we were together all the time. And it was such a cool way to get to know each other in the context because I got to observe him. Like as much as we spent one-on-one time together, I also got to just observe him and the way he treated other people. And it was just like, well, this is fantastic. I can't wait to marry you. But we dated, yeah, we dated for 2 years before we got engaged. We were engaged for 8 months. So from when we met to when we got married was about 2.5 years.
And it wasn't a surprise wedding.
It was not a surprise wedding. It was the whole thing. But last week in our first episode, we had mentioned the phrase DTR. So DTR, I don't know if Nikki, if you ever came across this in the US, but DTR was like a big thing in college. Like, have you had the DTR, which stands for define the relationship? And it was just like a known thing. And I know it wasn't just our school because I know other people, like I had friends at other universities who were like, yeah, DTR. So listeners, if you use that phrase ever, let us know. I'm so curious. But people would be like, have you had the DTR yet? Like define the relationship talk. And I was like, no, and we never really did. That's what was crazy. We don't really
Wow.
have a dating anniversary. I mean, I guess I figured the first time he kissed me is when I was like, clearly we're dating. I don't know. Like I know when he held my hand, I know when he kissed me for the first time. And obviously I know when he said, I love you. But when he said, I love you, we had never had a conversation about like, are we dating? It just was kind of like, we just were together. Like from the day we met, it was just like, okay, there you are. Like, this is it. And we joked that we just met and then got engaged 2 years later. So kind of a crazy experience. But yeah, we met at 20 and got married. I was 22 when we got married. Yeah, Patrick had just turned 23. I was about to turn 23. So yeah, child bride, child groom, babies, but it's worked so far.
Yeah, I mean, I was 24 when we got married, and I always say my prefrontal cortex was not fully developed, but it is a decision I stand by, so.
That is so
It's
crazy
so-
to me. I still like, sometimes I'm like, people get engaged and I'm like, we're too young. And then I'm like, I'm literally 31 years old. Like, people can get married and it's fine.
I feel like this is a great segue, though, into Nikki's dating world.
Our girl, we love it.
Yeah, let's flip gears here, guys, a little bit. I don't even know how to tackle my dating life and like how to talk about defining the relationship in my life. I'm single as a Pringle outside the can. Like, I couldn't be more single, which is fine.
Which
Honestly,
that analogy makes me so sad because I think about like a can full of Pringles all hanging out together and one solo Pringle just on the table. Like, please.
yeah, like when a kid takes it out and licks it and sets it down and forgets about it because all the good stuff's gone.
Hey, but that Pringle out of the can sees the whole world. The rest of them are in the tube, so it depends how you look at it.
You're not wrong.
That's true.
You're not wrong. That just got so silly so fast. Yeah, so I am single in my 30s and navigating life, and that is interesting as hell. I did have a very long relationship in my 20s. I was in a relationship for 6 years. Ty and I literally unpacked so much of that the other day, which Maddie has also heard all of. And yeah, I ended that relationship when I was like 28, which was a huge, maybe we unpack that later fully, but that was a huge thing, like hurdle to get over in the sense of like, okay, I'm 28 years old. I'm out of college. I've been in this long relationship. Like, where do I meet people? Like, should I even be ending this relationship? I should be getting married is what I should be doing. And like all of these things, these should be's that I was just like, I don't want to. And then like 6 months after that relationship, met a dude from Ireland, and we kind of like dated for 3 months, like long distance, obviously. And basically that just meant we were spending a lot of time on the phone with each other. And then I met him, I went and visited him in Ireland, and then I met him in Portugal, kind of ended things there. And then I went boy sober for a year, and that was a mega huge chapter of my life. I still talk about it. I still think it's like the best thing I ever could have done for myself.
I love that term.
Yeah.
I started following you during your boy sober year.
I think I did too.
Yeah, I wish I would have shared more about what was happening during that year and like what I was thinking, but I think I was just so like separated. Like I was truly like decentering men from my life. And I was like, cool, who am I? I don't know who I am, because it was the first time in my life that I was like, I don't have school. I don't have some like guy I'm chasing or family that I'm trying to like live up to these expectations, or like his family I'm trying to like live up to their expectations. Like I'm not trying to make us a 5-year plan. It literally was just like me and my business and whatever I wanted life to be. And so I just like, I didn't share as much as like looking back, I'm like, oh, I probably could have, but at the same time, I was like living so heavy in it and going through so many transitions in other aspects of my life that I was like, okay, this is cool. But I literally remember like kissing the Irish guy goodbye in the airport. And then for 365 days, I didn't flirt. I didn't kiss anyone. I didn't entertain a DM. I did like nothing for an entire year. And the person I think I became on the other side of that is way more empowered in relationships. I spent a lot of time like communicating, learning how to communicate better with my family, communicating better with my friends, like finding people that are supportive in ways that like I knew I needed in like platonic or like familial ways. And I think that led me into better places when I started dating again. And honestly brought better people into my life as far as the dating world goes. I ended up dating a guy from France last year, and some of the best communication I've ever had in a little situationship. And you know, that didn't work out, and I got hung up on that one for a while. I'm not gonna lie, that one was a little rough, a little rough. And yeah, there were a couple of guys here and there, and recently I've had some little escapades in Bulgaria. I literally don't know how much to share. I'm like, I don't know what to say. I don't know, like...
You don't have to say anything you don't feel comfortable doing so. But I think it's safe to say that your boy's sobriety was very intentional then.
Very, yeah. And it's really shaped a lot of, like, even my ability to, like, recognize if something's going to work with someone, like, pretty early on. Like, I'm very intentional about, like, not wasting my time or wasting somebody else's time. Or, like, being very clear about what a certain situation is after a certain point. Like, when we talk about defining relationships, like, with the French guy last year, it was like, it got to a point where it was like, okay, we either have to define this or like
the DTR.
Yeah. And I think now looking back, when I learned more things about French culture, I think we were more in a relationship than I thought. But I also could be very wrong. But we communicated very well about where we both were at the time. And I was just really proud of that. So yeah, the boy sober year shaped a lot of how I like move forward. Like, because I very easily feel like I could have crashed and burned after 6 years and like just found another person to latch onto that wasn't right for me.
Yeah, and I think going back to the very start, like you said, you had all these preconceived notions that, I should have been married by now, or I should be starting a family, or I should be doing this. But these are all just society's expectations of women. And I think now we have so much more autonomy about what we want to do with our futures that it is not uncommon to be in your 30s and be single and be traveling the world and dating and doing whatever the fuck you want.
Literally.
As you should.
Yeah. And I will say, like, in the US, living there, I couldn't tell you that I tried at all. I wasn't trying to, and I've never been on a dating app. I don't have a desire to be on one. I'm like a meet people in the wild kind of person, which means finding dates is few and far between, which is like, okay, because like I said, I've been finding people that are more aligned with like what I would want in a person than if I were just like online swiping and praying to God that something was going to fit. Yeah. I think in the US, I just like, I didn't want to try. And then like I left and I wasn't even in Bulgaria a week and somebody asked me on a date. And I was like, hell yeah, let's go.
I guarantee also that is because you have had all this time to grow and become who you are as a person and figure out what you want and what you value and what you deserve as well, because, you know, you deserve the utmost respect and communication, like you said. So you're probably putting a lot more value on a type of relationship that you're looking for. Yeah,
and I definitely didn't have any luck in the US. Like, you know, like I tried, there were things here and there, but it was just like not it. And I'm not saying that there couldn't be someone from the US or whatever, but I do feel like when I leave the country, I'm meeting more people who are aligned with like who I am as a person, what I want in life, like my view on life, like those kinds of things. So yeah, it's been very interesting. And yeah, like
to be continued.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what else to say because I'm like,
to be continued for sure.
If you follow me on Instagram, there's a whole series of what the dates I went on in Bulgaria, and wholeheartedly I had
This
been,
series is amazing. You
It's
guys
so good.
absolutely need to follow and watch those.
yeah, that was
So
hilarious.
I'm curious for you. I think a lot of our listeners may relate to different parts of each of our stories. And, there may be people listening, they're like, I also got married when I was a child, if I was in or my early 20s, or like, Ty, man, like I resonate. Like, I'm so glad I got married young, but also I wish that maybe I had met my same partner, but like maybe met a little bit later. Or Nikki, for you, like, man, like what courage it takes to end a relationship that was fine, but not good and not great. And the decision to go boy sober and what that looks like maybe that really resonates with them. So I'm curious for you what that whole experience of being boy sober directly after, I know you kind of had like the 3-month fling with the Irish guy, but really directly after that 6-year relationship, what do you feel like is the main thing you learned about what you want in a relationship moving forward because of your experiences being boy sober?
I want somebody to like undoubtedly like know who they are, but also understand that like that version of them can change because they're trying to be a better version of themselves like every day. I think I'm constantly growing and changing, and I have goals that change and evolve with what I'm passionate about. And I think having someone who's like recognizes the ebbs and flows in that and is so passionate and obsessed with their own human experience in this life, but also can still recognize that like they want a partner in it, and like how to make that work together without it being with it being a partnership instead of it being like one of us is here to serve the other in
Yeah.
like that toxic way that I think I've experienced.
There's a term that I love. So there's like the spectrum of independence and codependency, where it's like independence is one end of the spectrum, codependency is the other end of the spectrum, and each in the context of relationships obviously have their issues, but like the goal is interdependence. And I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, okay, I love that, because obviously I don't want to be codependent. I think wild independence in relationship, like if you're both just wildly independent tornadoes, like you may bump into each other, but you're on your own path, like there's no harmony with it. But that term of interdependence is like choosing in your independence to involve the other person in your life. Like it's not that you have to or need to, but it's like this joyful choice to say, okay, out of our mutual independence, we are choosing to love and serve and involve the other person in our life because it's joyful. And I feel like that's what you're talking about, like looking for that interdependence.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's like the most eloquent way of putting it together. I've never heard that. And I love that because I've been in situations where people are like, "Oh, well you live like halfway around the world." And it's like, "Yeah, but like if there's a certain level of like us wanting to be together, then like halfway around the world isn't forever, but it's okay for now until we like figure it out, you know?"
Mm-hmm.
Like those kinds of things. I'm not someone who needs to be like physically attached to a person. I'm not somebody who needs to be like emotionally attached. I don't want my person to be that. Like that interdependence I think is like very spot on. But I think that takes a lot of like self-reflection and being like really emotionally truthful with yourself. I think in the world we live in, we all know that's hard to come by.
Preach, girly.
I think that's something that's such a privilege when you're in a relationship, when you feel like, I know there's this whole saying, oh, that's my other half or my better half or something.
That makes me cringe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I very much feel like in a relationship, you should be two wholes choosing to take on this life or these adventures or whatever it is together. And yeah, Maddie, you put it so beautifully. Can you tell who the trained therapist is in the room?
Yeah,
I feel like I'm going to learn so much.
I did not come up with that. I heard that. I don't remember where I heard that, but I remember hearing that and being like, yes, that is just so perfect. I mean, I know it was through like a relationship psychology, probably course in grad school or something, but I remember being like, yes. And Patrick and I, man, 10 years of marriage, meeting when we were 20, we have been all over the spectrum of codependence in an unhealthy way in like total independence where it's like, oh man, like I feel like we're just roommates. Like we aren't like we don't have that interdependence. And then also seasons of just really beautiful interdependence of, I feel like we're in that season now of we have our lives and our passions, but we're like choosing to involve the other person in them. And I expect over the next, hopefully we're married, for how old are we? 30? Hopefully we're married for like 60 more years. But I expect us to run the gamut of that spectrum as well, depending on what's going on and what's happening in life. But yeah, it's a rodeo out there, my friends.
Absolutely. I think it's only natural that in relationships it comes in ebbs and flows, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is. And we're so excited, Nikki, for you. It's such a joy as one of your, I would consider you one of my closest friends. I cherish both of you guys so much. And it's such a beautiful thing to get to see you working this out and looking at just like I've been married for 10 years and I look to you for just the way that you're growing as a person because I don't ever want to lose myself in marriage either. And so even though we've been married for 10 years, it's like I have so much to learn from you in the way that you're intentional with your own growth. And Ty, like I have so much to learn from you just with how you and Ben, like it's just so beautiful to watch you and Ben figuring out like 5 years into marriage. Patrick and I were a mess. We were in counseling, like it was a rodeo, which we can definitely get into later, but like it's so beautiful. I don't know, just so I love learning from you guys. And I love, this community that we're building of all of our global besties because we want to know, yeah, just for the listeners, like where are you at with your relationships too? What do you resonate with? What do you struggle with? Like, how can we support you guys and how can we learn from you guys also?
Yeah, I think you said that incredibly well. And like, I think that's something that I found like you speaking on like us all learning from each other is something I found like really beautiful about the trio of us, but also in like a lot of the friendships that I've made later in my 20s and into my 30s post that last relationship is like I learned so much from my friends. It's crazy. Like even you and Pat, like I basically crashed your 10-year wedding anniversary trip. Like I third wheeled that entire thing.
We
And
loved it.
the whole time I was like waiting for you guys to like pull off and be like, we're going to go do this or whatever. And, or like feel like there were moments where I was like, oh, I shouldn't be here. And it was never that. And I don't think you guys were intentionally like, oh, we can't leave Nikki out. It never felt like that either. It just was so nice to watch you guys still have your relationship in the way that you have it in front of people, even how you guys communicate, like the amount of times that we've talked about like, oh, what is the next couple of years of your life going to look like or yours or mine? And you're so good at communicating what you and Pat have talked about as a duo in a way that like isn't sharing anything private. And then what you say you want versus like, oh, we still have to talk about this and still giving him the space to like join the conversation, input if he wants. Like, like you're so good at that. And it like blows my mind like every time. And like just watching you guys have that dynamic is, like I said, I'm learning from everyone like all the time.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think also like by sharing our lives on social media as we do, especially like you said, Nikki, with your dating series and things like that, I hope that people can look at our accounts and sort of resonate and feel like, oh, like they're kind of like us, or Nikki's in the same position as me and she's going out there, she's putting herself out there, or, she's gone boy sober. Maybe I should give that a go and see how that works out for me. So I think having the privilege of a platform is so nice and not one that we take for granted, which is exactly why we wanted to start the podcast, so we can open this discussion with you global besties.
Yeah, I think we all three of us are intentional about not like on our actual social media pages, not portraying, just this like perfectly put together life, but there is an element like we are working with brands. It is our business. Like we're not probably going to showcase our meltdown moments on our business page. Like it's always a dynamic, which is part of why we wanted to, Ty, like you said, start this podcast to show like just be real humans. Not that we're not real on social media, but it's just in a long form conversation like this, you get to just be more real. And there's not social media, there's not a lot of room for nuance. I think Nikki and I were maybe talking about that in Croatia recently, but there's not really a lot of room for nuance, and life is nuanced, and especially relationships. There's so much nuance that gets lost. And I know, Nikki, you've like felt that struggle a little bit of sharing the dating world online and people making assumptions, and there not really being room for that kind of long form conversation around very intimate and, complex and nuanced topics. So, as our listeners, hopefully you guys feel like this is a safe place to just ask yourself questions, ask us questions, kind of reflect on whatever you're going through. I know we're talking about relationships today, but we're talking about life. Relationships are a part of our life, and this podcast really is just a place for us to figure out life.
Yeah, 100%. I think you really nailed that on the head. And like something that I've been very excited about is to be a little bit more transparent with things here, because it is like you said, even with the dating series, like you put one video out and people are like, this guy better run for the hills. The girl, she's communicating with the internet instead of him. And it's like, you guys don't know that him and I had very long conversations about this. But like, there are things that are being said, and it's like, again, not like we can share all of everything, or we'd be here for 12 hours a day, but it is life, and we want all the global besties at home to like understand that there's more than just like maybe the minute and a half that you're seeing on a short form platform.
I know that we all three, I think what draws me to you guys as friends and as people I look up to, you guys are wildly independent. And I think that is such a beautiful thing. I think all three of us are pretty wildly independent girlies, and that's beautiful. This is a place to cultivate that. It also comes with its challenges in relationships when you're like, oh crap, like, oh, I can't just be like Miss Wildly Independent necessarily all the time, but what does that look like? So I'm excited
what does it mean when a guy buys you an Allen wrench?
What does it mean when a guy buys you an Allen wrench? And I think that is a story that deserves its own dedicated podcast episode too.
Literally.
Because these are the questions we ask ourselves, but we gotta answer that. Nikki recently had an entire existential crisis when she had to figure out what it does mean when a guy buys you an Allen wrench.
Yep.
I can't think of anything more romantic, personally.
I will never be able to look at that Allen wrench without feeling romantic energy.
And that guy will always be known as Alan now.
That's actually amazing.
I'm gonna die. It's so funny.
That's so funny. Well, that is a wrap on today. I love you guys. I love your stories. I love these relationships we're all navigating. And I'm super stoked about our next episode because we are talking about the relationship that all three of us are in that we have not even talked about yet. And that is our relationship with travel. And travel, man, that is a strong relationship. That is a long-term relationship that we are all in, and it has its own dynamics to it. So travel itself is the reason Nikki found herself in the situation of needing an Allen wrench, figuring out what it means when a boy buys you an Allen wrench. And we're going to be tackling the question of, do any of us actually have a home? Are we homeless? Where do we live?
Are we homeless? Make sure you guys rate, review, and subscribe on all the platforms you can. Send this to someone you think could relate to this. That would really help us out. And we want to grow this Global Besties audience.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for being here. And we will see you in the next episode. Remember that you belong here.
Yeah! Crushed it.